Nadia Bilchik is a television news anchor, keynote speaker, author, trainer, and communications consultant.
19 number one best-selling
have been nominated and won so many awards throughout your careers.
She has a wealth of experience interviewing and consulting with well-renowned figures, celebrities, and corporations. Nadia speaks on how to get people to like you, trust you, and want to do business with you.
Over the last few weeks, the entire world has been monitoring the treatment of your grandfather, Nelson Mandela. And my job was to introduce it and provide.
With topics like leveraging the power of your personal presence, networking for success, and lighting the fire. Nadia Bilchik.
And a very good morning. Today, I am joined by Sloane Drake, who is the Senior Vice President of Human Resources of our company. So it's a pleasure to be with you. So can you hear me?
Yes.
So you're very good. I always use the learning moment to say life is imperfect, technology is imperfect. So welcome, and it's a pleasure to see you. I see you are wearing green in honor of.
I am wearing happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Yes, so very happy St. Patrick's Day. I asked you if you had any Irish anywhere. You said no. Have you done any of those DNA tests?
I did, yes. So I just did. I love green, and it's always a fun day. So it's a great excuse to put on a green blouse.
Well, it's so interesting because I did one of those DNA 23andMe, and it's always fascinating. I hope that I'd be very exotic. I always wanted to have some, I don't know why, I always thought some Indian, maybe Turkish. I love Turkish. I love the language, but it was not meant to be. Anyway, so thank you. Sloane, so I wanted to start off with you, and I say, though you don't look it, you are a very, very experienced human resource professional. And I say you don't look it because your face belies the years. But for you, when you look at Sloane Drake, what do you think is attributed to your success and navigating sometimes very complex and sometimes male-dominated environments?
So I have been with Southern Company, Georgia Power for 20 years, and I started in a development program. And I really only intended to be at the company for a year. Always wanted to be a clinical psychologist. I was finishing up my last year in college. I was tired of studying, and so I thought I would take a year off. Georgia Power had a development program where you could come in, you could work, learn, move around the organization, and then could move into a full-time job. So I thought it would be a year, and I've been here 20. And so one of the things that I loved about Southern, and I continue to love about Southern, is there really are a lot of opportunities to do different things. I've always been in human resources, but I've done different parts of human resources and had a chance to see different operating companies and different projects. And so one of the things that I think has been really helpful for me, because I started in that development program and I was literally told on my very first day, you don't know anything, you're here to learn, you're here to ask questions, you're here to explore. And I never forgot that. So I like to ask a lot of questions. I'm not afraid to ask questions, no matter what. And I'm not afraid to say when I don't know something. So I think that's been really helpful for me to be open to experiences. I also got some great advice from an early manager that said, do the jobs that no one else wants to do. And so I did. And so when there was new things or harder things, I would typically raise my hand. And I think that really helped me have a chance to see lots of things that then I could build on that helped me move through the organization.
So when you look at your career 20 years down the line, is there anything Sloane Drake would say to her 20 years ago self?
I would tell her to relax and not to work so hard and to really understand the balance that should happen. Work hard, but also take a break. And I didn't do very much of that. I was very focused on wanting to do more. I didn't take a lot of weekends off and a lot of vacations. And I worried a lot, I think, about the future and wanted to plan everything. And what I found is some of the things that I've enjoyed the most in my career were the things I never saw coming and I could have never planned for. So it would really be relax and enjoy a little bit more of the ride and not be so concerned about making sure that everything is planned and buttoned up.
So one thing we could never have planned for and hard to relax in is COVID-19. So I noticed, given where you are, that when we discussed this back in the office this morning, but most of your teams are not.
That's right. So I come in maybe once or twice a week because, again, it's really helpful for me, and that kind of helps me do some of that balance. But, there are so many of our employees who never stopped working. They are continuing to be in the field. There are linemen and our folks that work in plants. But those of us that are in a corporate environment, we've been home teleworking for a year. And it's been good and bad. There's been some wonderful stories of employees having a chance to spend more time with their children and with their families. And people are walking and exercising in a way that I think is amazing. But we're also missing the networking and the informal conversations and the collaboration. And so, like a lot of companies, we're really trying to figure out what is the new normal going to look like for us. I think we've learned that we can do a lot more with virtual work and teleworking. We have an amazing technology organization that has just been so supportive. But it's figuring out the right balance of what that looks like. And then when should we return? We thought about kind of employee safety at the very beginning of COVID when we asked those folks that could work from home to go home. And so we want to be very thoughtful about when we bring more people back into the workforce. But it's taught us a lot, but there's, I've heard lots of stories of people loving not to have the commute, but also people that are ready to get back into a more normal kind of office setting. So we're really just trying to figure out, what is that right blend?
And I know you are a deeply empathetic individual who cares so much about each and every employee. So I'm just curious, what are you actively doing? I mean, what I'm seeing in my classes and sessions is people's sense of, they're calling it, whether it's burnout, I call it Zoom gloom, whatever platform you're on. What are you actively doing to address people's levels of uncertainty and stress?
Right. So, honestly, it's acknowledging it. It is really letting people feel comfortable to say that this is difficult and people are getting tired of being this virtual and people really are having some struggles and some stress. And so we've been able to roll out a lot more kind of mental health and stress focused different support areas that I think has been really beneficial. We're talking about that a lot more in our organization than we ever did before. I'm really trying to be flexible with people to make sure that they're able to do their work, but also be able to meet the demands of maybe being a school teacher at home, or you're taking care of family members during your work day as well. So if I had to sum it up, we're really trying to meet people where they are, and that is not a one size fits all. So it's really trying to understand kind of what you would need and then work to make sure that we're able to support you. And as those needs change, being very flexible to what that support would look like.
So it's interesting that you go into the office yourself. And one of the things that people tell me in all of my sessions and keynotes is what I'm missing is an opportunity for exposure. You're there with the CEO, and even just seeing your face gives you an opportunity to say, I'm visible. What is Sloane Drake's advice and guidance to people who are joining us now who go, I'm missing out on being visible? What can I do to enhance my visibility in a virtual world?
No, that's a great question. So what I can say, at least for Southern and at Georgia Power, what we've done is there's lots of virtual meetings and gatherings. And so we have a very active employee resource group network where they're doing sessions and information where employees can get on and spend time with each other. People are having their meetings virtually. And so you're having a chance to get on and do some of those. And so it's really maximizing those chances when you are with a group of people to network and spend some time. But I'll tell you, I've been much more deliberate reaching out and talking to people that I haven't heard from in a while that I probably wasn't doing and thinking about when I was in the office. And so taking opportunities to, if you've not talked to someone in a while, send them a note or give them a call, and really being intentional about spending time with folks and having some of those conversations that we took for granted when you would just pass somebody in the hall.
I know something you are responsible for is nurturing leadership, nurturing emerging leaders, and you have a wonderful reputation of somebody who recognizes the talent in others. So for those individuals right now, what does Sloane Drake, what do you look for at Georgia Power, Southern Company? What are the qualities now that people need to have to succeed to accelerate their careers?
I'm going to start with leadership, because I think, and people are leaders all throughout the organization, even in roles where they're an individual contributor. But what I know that we are looking for and needing a lot more in leadership are those folks who really do understand emotional intelligence, who really do understand how you motivate, how you interact, how you really get to know the people on your team. And so folks that really think and are able to do that, with all the work that we're doing around diversity, equity, and inclusion, having a real understanding of those words and those areas and those issues and that cultural competency is so important, because you're leading work teams that are very, very diverse, more diverse than we've ever had, whether that be ethnicity or your gender or orientation, or even just your age or where you came from. So leaders who are able to do that is hugely important. Skill wise, gosh, we are more digital. We are a lot more virtual. So all of data scientists and things that can think through and analytics and that work is going to continue to be much more important. Cyber, with the fact that we're all on videos and Zoom, that cybersecurity and really thinking about that's some of the workforce skills that we'll need. But we're going to still be very true to the fact that we're a power utility. And so we still need and want people who are willing to go out every day, and even days like this where it's going to be storming, and make sure the lights stay on and that the power doesn't go off, and are working in those power plants. So we're going to see some of that modernization of our workforce, but we really are committed to making sure that the folks who really are the reason why we're here continue to have what they need to grow and thrive.
It's so interesting because when you and I spoke a while back, Texas was going through this extraordinary situation of loss of power and look at the infrastructure, and you said it would never happen in Georgia.
So never. But what I'll tell you is there are people who every day it is their job to think and plan and to make sure that is not something that happens. And even here, we spent time talking through what did that look like, and really doubling down to make sure that we have the plans in place. And for me, when I think about Texas and really hoping and knowing that people are in a better place and are really recovering from that awful situation that happened, I just am so thankful for the men and women that work on our systems. And sometimes they're the people that you don't see, but because of their hard work, and it is 24/7, 365, and not one of them got to go home and telework last year. They were still working. That's why we're able to have such confidence in what we do, because of the people that work with us to do that kind of work.
And Sloane, you talk about human resources, and you really give gravitas to, we appreciate the people who work for us. We see that as so important. And every time I talk to you, you just exemplify somebody who really cares about their employees and knows how critical that is. So it brings us to, you speak about full life cycle recruitment. And that's another thing that is part of what you're known for. So share a little bit about that with us and how you've become such an expert.
So, so full life cycle is really everything from your very entry level. So we are very involved in campus recruiting. We love co-ops and internships. It's a great way to come into the company and learn and grow. But we're also getting much better at hiring mid-career and bringing people into the organization with expertise and leadership. But it's really helping people manage their full career. So from the day that you get here as a new hire, as you really start to think about what might be the next jobs that you want to think about, helping you navigate that work. And then the other part of it too is making sure people feel very comfortable when it's time for them to exit the organization through retirement or to have a new opportunity to maybe go do something else. And so, really thinking about the employee from start to finish and making sure as they have interest and want to develop throughout their careers that we're really helping to support that.
So what do you say to the younger generation who are interested in human resources, possibly as a career? And it's something I've always found it fascinating that it seems to be one area where there are a lot of women. Right?
There are, yeah.
Why? I mean, why are men, generally speaking, less attracted to human resources as a career? And it's one area because your company, one could say, has, in terms of leadership, is fairly male dominated, right?
It is. I don't know. I don't know why more men are involved. I mean, it's fascinating work, and you really do have a chance to get involved on really every aspect of the business. It's not just thinking about kind of just people that you think about. So I don't know why more people don't think it's amazing and why more men don't. But, for folks who are interested in human resources, you need to learn the business and the profession of HR. I mean, that is highly important. But what is really helpful and what I think makes some of the best HR professionals is the ones who really learn their business and have a point of view and are able to really be involved in not just the things that you think are strictly people. Because if you think about it, making sure that you're talking about even acquisitions or transitions or those work, you want to make sure that people are thinking about some of those pieces as well. So getting to know your industry, really thinking about that, being a student of the business makes you an even better HR professional, I think.
That's such a good point. And for you, so again, looking back at your career, was there ever a moment or a decision that looking back, and people just for whatever reason like to hear, was there ever a Sloane Drake moment that you look back and say, that career, that decision could have been different? A career decision that you maybe made that in retrospect, you wish you wouldn't have?
So I'll tell you one that was the opposite way. So I was in a job that I loved. I was the recruiting manager at Georgia. It was the best job. I thought I never have to do anything else here and I will be happy. And I got a call to if I would consider going and working on, at that point, our new nuclear project. So now it's Vogtle 3 and 4, but it would be going, spending time in Augusta, Georgia, and helping to build that up. And I really was going to say no. I really had no interest. And I called my brother, who is one of the smartest people I know, and told him that I was going to say no. And he said, well, that's dumb. If they're calling you and telling you, they're probably not asking. So you probably need to figure out a way to get to yes. And you should go and do it because it's something you don't know how to do. You're actually afraid of it. And won't that be something that'll really teach you a lot? And so if I had done what I thought I would have done, then I really don't think that I would be in a different job probably than that recruiting manager. And so thank goodness I had the wisdom to call my brother, and even better wisdom to listen to his good advice. But that's one where I really think about it. If I had gone a different route, I think I would have a very different career at this point.
And it's saying yes to those opportunities. And often, Sloane, we hear that women won't take an opportunity if they don't feel they're 100% qualified, whereas a man, even if he's 40% qualified, will take it. There's often that self-doubt. Now, I know that many times you must be the only female in a room of men. In terms of navigating that, and I've had many conversations with you, and you have this ease and confidence and natural way of being articulate. Is that something you've always had? Have you learned that? What advice do you give to people who are in the room and maybe don't own their space the way that you do?
You know, I think I learned it. I mean, this is not something that I knew how to do. And I really would look at people who I thought did it well and really try to figure out how do I do and demonstrate and model some of those behaviors. And I've worked for some really amazing leaders who were really very thoughtful and helpful and gave really good feedback. So I heard a lot when I was doing well, but I also heard a lot when I was not doing well. And so being in rooms where you are the only one, wherever that is, you kind of have to be who you are and you have to own it. I followed a gentleman into this job who had been in this job for over 15 years and probably forgot more about HR than I knew at the time that I got the job. And I realized early on, I was never going to be him. And I could just be me, and I'm going to bring something different to this role. And what I don't know, I'm going to admit to. And then I also got some great advice from a wonderful boss of mine that said, hire and be around the smartest people that you know. So bring those people onto your team and then listen to them. And don't feel like just because you're the leader, you have to have every answer and make every decision. And I think that is why some of that confidence is, because I know I have a great team. And if I leave a meeting and don't know how to do something, there's a group of people that will get together, we'll talk through it, and we'll figure out how to make it work. And so, you know, that I know that gives me a lot of confidence.
I mean, because what was the biggest obstacle for you? Or, you know, people assume that there's certain obstacles, but it sounds like you had great mentorship.
I did. And so obstacles, it's moving into a job or something where you don't know everything. And that's just the reality. And I think that's going to be more of the reality for us more and more, because the world is changing and jobs are changing so quickly. And so being comfortable with what you don't know and not misrepresenting that, and then having a good support system and people that will tell you the good and the bad and the ugly, and then really being committed to grow and develop. We talk a lot on our team that we're going to try some things and not everything is going to go well, and that's okay. But we're going to fail fast. We're not going to be committed to it because it was our idea. And then we're going to move to the next one. And so when you operate in that type of environment, you get a lot more comfortable not having every answer every minute of the day. And I'll tell you, through COVID and through the pandemic, we had to make some decisions really quickly. And that was really freeing. And some of it was great, and we did the exact right thing. And some things we've had to go back and fix and modify, but we learned a lot from that. And so not being so afraid of making mistakes and, not letting perfection be the enemy of the good. I think that is a lesson that we all just kind of have to remind ourselves.
When you say that, it makes so much sense, but that has to come from the top.
Yes.
Nelson Mandela famously said, "I never lose, I either win or I learn." But it's a culture that has to come, and it seems that you've successfully managed to share that. Then, when one thinks about leadership, and I know another area, obviously, of your expertise is nurturing leaders and the next generation of leaders, who comes to mind, and either personally or professionally for you, as exemplary? And if not the person, what are the qualities, particularly in an age that collaboration has become so important and in an age of virtual communication?
I think the characteristics are the people who are willing to try, who are willing to be transparent, who are willing to say, I don't always know. Collaborators, people that really do want to make sure that they have a very diverse, thoughtful, and I mean diverse in all the sense of the word, so that you're coming to the answer and you're coming to decisions in a way that's very collaborative. That, I think, is the leadership traits that I've always admired in the people that I've worked with. Anyone can command and control, but if you can figure out a way to work with groups and get the best of that collective knowledge, then you always get a better product. And so that's kind of the thing that I try to keep. And I don't always do it great. Some days I'm great at it and some days I'm not so great. But it's something that I really focus on, and I'm really committed to making sure that I do.
And last thing, and there's so much I want to talk to you about, but I know we have limited time because Sloane has a very busy schedule. So to get her for this time, I so appreciate. But we speak about diversity, inclusion, allyship, and it's such a big topic. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, your initiatives within your organization in terms of how do we really walk the talk of diversity, inclusion, allyship, having as broad a range of individuals as possible to reflect our client base? How do we do it better?
I think it's being very honest about where we are and where the gaps are in the organization, and really being honest to say there's some things that we've done for years and years, that tools and resources, but this is a leadership imperative, and you hear that from the very top of the organization down to our first line supervisors. And it really is trying to figure out a way that we understand, acknowledge, and then work to get better.
Sloane Drake, it has been such a pleasure. For those of you who just happened to getting the tail end of this, Sloane is the Senior Vice President of HR, Georgia Power Company and Southern Company. Thanks for so much advice. I just am going to sum up what I think you said, and then please add. Sloane has spoken about just a time of just collaboration, reaching out, being exemplary. And most important, Sloane, I think what you're saying about is it's okay to fail, try, fail fast. You've been speaking about that. We hear that, but the fact that you're actually implementing it and doing it. And the other thing is those conversations that are difficult to have, are we having them? Because otherwise, how do things change and how do we get better? So as we get into the next part of the year, I just love your final thoughts, advice, and guidance to other HR professionals, and not only that, to other leaders who are, as you say, in human resources is about the business as much as the individuals. So please let me know.
So for all my HR colleagues out there, you tend to not be the group that gets a lot of thank you. So thank you to every one of you for all that you did last year, and knowing that you were having to think through and make decisions, but still keep it all together and let the organization know that it was handled. So that's not an easy feat. And just keep doing what you're doing and network and spend time with each other, because we're all better together when we can share best practices and support each other. But it's important work. It's really good work. And I know from the folks that I get to interact with, it's work that we're kind of all knocking out of the park. So congratulations on making it through what a crazy year, and know that the next years are going to be probably just as crazy. But it's great work, and I think we're all doing a really good job.
Sloane Drake, who is a thought leader in the area of human resources. Sloane, one day you're going to write the book and do the training when you one day have time. As we navigate going into our second year of this, the ability, and you said, to reach out, and I'm going to take what you said and have conversations with people you might not otherwise have had. How important is that? And for this week, just to deliberately and intentionally listen, reach out to one person on your team that you may not have and ask, what is one thing I can do to support you right now? I'm Nadia Bilchik. I was in conversation with the awesome Sloane Drake. And for more information, my website is nadiaspeaks.com. And wishing you a wonderful rest of your week.